I've been saying a lot about, and this is what the center is all about. I've been saying a lot about the Yoruba people being the Israelites of the Bible, the original Hebrews of the Bible. But then there has to be information within the scripture that confirms what I'm saying, that authenticates what I'm saying. Otherwise, I'm just blowing a lot of hot air. Now, one of the things that you'll find is that modern times, a lot of people don't read the Old Testament, they only read the New Testament. Mm-hmm. So there are a lot of things that you'll be coming across. We'll be checking them in the scriptures to find out if they're so. But these are the things that ultimately give authenticity to what I'm talking about. The New Testament is a book written about principles, how to live with your friends, with your family, how to be a nice person, how to be a good person, and how to love, basically how to love your God and love your neighbor as yourself. That's what the New Testament is. It doesn't speak much about ethnicity because the ethnicity had already been established in the Old Testament. So they're expecting that you would have read the Old Testament because there was an audience. There was an audience that the Messiah was talking to. The Bible even says it, even confirms it by saying that he himself said that I am sent only to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. He said it himself. So who is that lost sheep that he was sent to? His office, his duty, his ministration as a prophet and as a son of the Most High was because Abraham existed. And Abraham got a promise from the Creator. And the children of Israel disobeyed that covenant. What he came to do was to restore that covenant back, which is why he was speaking to an audience. When you read the New Testament, you read it as though he's speaking to the world. He wasn't speaking to the world. He was speaking to Israel. Now, when a Gentile now shares in the commonwealth of Israel, he now becomes a part of that covenant. But outside that, is not a part of the covenant. So we need to find out who exactly was Abraham. What tribe of people, what race of people in this world was the Most High talking to? Whose seed is Abraham? You know, the Bible says one thing very interesting. It says, when the Most High was blessing Abraham, he said, this blessing is unto you and to your seed after you. So where is that seed? It's been lost for 2,000 years. Ever since the Babcover revolt, it's been lost for 2,000 years. But the Bible, so we call them the lost tribe of Israel. They are lost to man and to themselves. They can't be lost to God. And the Bible prophesies very clearly in Ezekiel 37 that they shall be restored. Very, very, very clearly. But the problem is that some people in 1948 came and said, well, they found very good people. And the whole world believed it hook, line, and sinker, and started to spend almost $9 billion in tourism revenue every year to their country because they believed that they were the ones, the Church of Nativity, the River Jordan, and all that. So the question now is, are those people the ones? That's what we're trying to find out. If they are the ones, then let's continue to give them the honor that is theirs. If they're not, then our duty as human beings, especially as Christians, is to find out who these people are, even if they're not Yoruba. So at this presentation, if we find out by the end of this presentation that they're not Yorubas, the question should now be, who are they? Because without them, there's no going anywhere. The covenant is with them. You join into that covenant. So there's nothing to join to if they don't exist. So the first thing we asked ourselves was this. In 722 BC, there was an invasion by a man called Tiglath-Pileser, who was the king of Assyria. The Assyrians were very notorious they were a very great empire, and they were very notorious for flaying their victims, the people that they captured. What do they do to them? Literally just hang them on a stake and peel their skins off. Right, and let other people know that this is what we're going to do. So nobody wanted to fight the Assyrian Empire because of the consequences of fighting the Assyrian Empire. So if they came to you and they said, look, we'll make peace with you, we'll sign an agreement with you, but you have to come under our protectorate, you have to become our protectorate. And if you say no, then they go to war with you. When they go to war with you, you've already seen what they've done to other nations. They literally cut people's tongues out. They bring women, they open the women's wombs and bring their children out alive and let them die on the ground there. She's in that pain. They do so horrendous acts that normally what happens is when they say that they're coming to fight you, this is like a horde of people coming to fight you, you capitulate immediately. So they were coming, they took the northern Israel in 722 BC. If this is the Assyrian Empire in 722 BC, and this is Israel, if the war is coming down to Israel, where are the people likely to run through for safety?
They have to run down.
They have to run down. They have to run down. Run down. You cannot run to Europe when you are going to have to cross these people. They are looking for you to kill you. In 586 BC, there was another wave. So they got the northern kingdom, but Judah was saved. Right? Let's assume that something happened, Judah was saved. So Judah was saved here. Judah remained a nation. But in 586 BC, the Babylonians, the glass of this was broken. We were trying to get somebody that can fix it. Actually taking it to Lagos to fix it. So then the Babylonian Empire took over from the Assyrian Empire. And now this is Media. And then this is Persia. Eventually the Medo-Persian Empire took over, which is where Daniel was. Ever since the Babylonian Empire, Daniel was, Raven's prophecy was during the Babylonian Empire, the Medo-Persian Empire. So now they were going to take Judah. There's no northern Israel anymore. Now there's Judea. What they had done with northern Israel is Tiglath-Pileser had, and him, Tiglath-Pileser, Shalmaneser the fifth, Sargon the second, they had a trait as Assyrians. When they conquer a place, because they know that if they leave you there, you can rebel and give them a lot of problems. And when you rebel, it costs them a lot of money. You have to keep going there to go and quell the rebellion. They remove the entire people of that land and take them somewhere else and move other people that are not from that land into that land. That's the way to go, because then you can easily tell those people, you're not in your land. Though. And when you're not in your land, there's only so much that you can do. You are going to, so the oppression is going to be sustained. You can't fight for something that is not yours. You're not going to come out with swords and say, look, we want to retain our land. And then in most cases, you will never even know where the road back home. And then if you know the road back home, only individually can you escape. You can't escape as a group of people. And if you escape individually, you are meeting other people in that land, and they will drive you out because they don't want you there. So that's the confusion they created. So northern Israel were gone. That's where you got the lost 10 tribes from. The whole idea of the lost 10 tribes, that's where it came from. Nobody knows where they went. So the Babylonian Empire took over the Medo-Persian Empire. Nebuchadnezzar was a more decent human being. Even the Most High called him my servant Nebuchadnezzar. So when we offended in 586 BC, the offense was always blood sacrifice. The offense was always blood sacrifice. I would explain, that's not what this is about. We'll explain that later. So the Babylonians came down to Judea in 586 BC and took over Judea. Now, if the Babylonians are coming from the same axis, the north, this is Turkey, this is the land bridge to Europe. Would the Judeans run up or run down? They will run down. The Messiah, when Herod made a decree, when the angel said that Herod would be looking for him, where did he run to?
Egypt.
When Abraham was hungry, where did he run to? Egypt. They always run to Egypt because there was camaraderie between them and Egypt. It was an understood relationship. So they ran to Egypt. The land of the blacks is what you read, Kemet. It meant land of the blacks. I didn't say that, they said that. How do you hide a white Jesus in Kemet?
But that's more like I would like to say more like a meme that is just more like a parody. That's
yeah, but if Jesus was white, how do you hide him amongst black children?
So the color makes him unique, so it's easily identified.
It can't be hidden
So,
if it was white. An albino cannot stay hidden.
Hey, an albino even in our land. So you go and hide a white boy. That story doesn't make sense.
exactly.
All right, so let's move. Now, there's a prophecy in the Bible, Zephaniah chapter 3, verse 10. What does it say? So these are the questions we're asking. We're beginning to think to ourselves to say, okay, this thing isn't realistic. They must have run down into Africa. But then, where in Africa? You see, your sequence of events has to make sense for anybody to imbibe it.
Yes.
You can't just come and say, they jumped to this place. From there to here, if it says Jomo to the answer is what we do when we don't understand maths. You work it from the answer backwards. But if you know what you're doing, you should be able to trace the route. And so we went further into the scriptures. 1 Kings 14:15 and Zephaniah 8. It says, from beyond the rivers of Cush, my suppliers, the daughters of my dispersed, will bring my offering unto me. So what does it mean? They ran beyond the river of Cush. The river of Cush is the Nile River. Here it is called the river of Ethiopia. Here it is called the river of Cush. So normally they use Cush and Ethiopia interchangeably in the Bible, but they're different things. But this is Lake Tana, and this is coming from Lake Victoria. And 75% of the Nile comes from Lake Tana. It's a massive, massive lake, like a sea. So it goes all the way down. So this is the region of Kush, which is modern day Nubia or Sudan. And then this is, from here on, it's now called the River Nile. It's not called the River Nile by the people of the inhabitants of the land. It's also a Latin or Greek way of calling it that area. They named it what we called it. This was the river here that Moses was found. So if they went from here, they're coming down to Egypt. And the Bible says it was at Cush that they crossed the river of Cush and went to the other side. If you're coming from here, if you're crossing, where are you crossing to? Is this right? To this side. So that means that they were going here. Can we all confirm that they were going here?
Yes.
Well, come here. Let's assume that this is a path that they must have taken. Now, when you say, someone has asked me before to say, why didn't they go all the way to South Africa? Why do I always keep saying West Africa? And that's why I made this one, because he understood what I was talking about as soon as I showed him this. And what is here? If a body of 50,000 people, let's use 50,000, there probably was a lot more than that, probably a million people, but a body of 50,000 people were traveling, and they were coming down from here. When you're on land, you're safer than when you're on water. So you easily just go all the way like this to South Africa. It would not make sense for you to cross this river here and then come down here. Absolutely no sense. It'd be a senseless thing. Because to cross the river will take you time. You have to have enough boats to carry 50,000 people.
Yes.
The logistics of this will be for people running for their lives. It's illogical for them to make this transition here. They would have just simply walked into here. And guess what? They didn't even need to run here. If they had run somewhere here, they probably would have still been saved. But they ran across the river from here. Right? This is the river of Cush. They ran from around here. This is the third to the sixth cataract. And from here is the first to the third cataract. A cataract is a place where the water just slips down. So all the water of the Nile is going down to the Mediterranean, right?
It's more like going up.
Yeah, it's actually really going down. Rivers don't go up, they go down.
But I think that's the reverse case of Nile. It flows up.
No, the Nile flows down into the Mediterranean. What a paraffin. Shake a Google.
I don't know, but I think there was a time I was doing cultural history of Africa up to 1500, and then in one of the history classes they said the river was flowing up, like the opposite, like one of the rivers.
Let me tell you why all these things people say, they know that you're not going to go and check. So they say all these things to you. A river flows down. The height is in Lake Tana. Lake Tana is 2,000 and something feet above sea level. Egypt is at sea level. So how are you saying that the water is flowing from the Mediterranean up onto the mountain? Now, there's a dispute currently between Egypt and Ethiopia on the dams that Ethiopia is making here. Why is that? If the water is coming from here, it shouldn't be a problem.
Yes.
Because you make your own dam here. They should be the one complaining.
I'm not saying that the water is coming from me. I'm saying more like going back up. That's what I'm saying.
Oh no, okay. So this is Upper Egypt. This is Lower Egypt.
Yes.
So it's going down to Lower Egypt.
All right.
These are the things that you have to know.
All right.
All right, so let's continue. Here, there's one thing that makes it very interesting is this is a corridor that is protected by what? You're running from being taken captive, the Sahara Desert.
Okay.
It becomes a barrier. Now, people cannot run from here, this corridor, which is the corridor you're looking at. They can't run from here into the Sahara Desert. Why? It's a hostile environment to kill them. It's supposed to protect them from people that are coming to get them here, because they can't go through the desert. The desert is not something that you traverse that easily. There are parts in the desert, but these are parts that take you here. So once you are here, anybody here is not getting a hold of you, right? So we go on. So they must have gone, and the word beyond is you're looking like this. On the other, straight down is beyond. Not left, not right. When you say go beyond that, you're going straight down. Your nose, your eyes, right? It is going down. Is anytime you're describing a place to somebody, you don't say go all the way down there. You turn to that direction and say go all the way down there. So if they say they went all the way down there from the river of Kush, you're going obviously all the way to the south. And this is the path that is going into West Africa to as far as Timbuktu. So that means that the Hebrews are somewhere around this axis. Are we in agreement? Does that make sense?
Yes.
So this is a map that's 1736 map. We didn't make this map. These are maps that are made by white men, white cartographers. They were making it for kings of Europe, so they had to be very detailed. And what do you have here? Negro land and the Gulf of Guinea. And that same corridor is this corridor that you're finding here. Good. So let's come here. Now the question I would want to ask you guys is this. This is another 17, I think this is 1754 map, I can't remember, 1754 or 1784 map. That was by another cartographer. What do you read here? KM is kingdom. Kingdom
Of Judah.
Why did a cartographer?
Or winner slave.
So they called it wider. The inhabitants called it this name. The cartographer called it this name because he couldn't pronounce this. Wida, Wuda, so and their Y is J. So Wuda, Wida will now be Judah. So he called it the kingdom of Judah. What is written there?
Judea.
Judah. What is written here?
Judah.
So this is obviously what referred to. What do you think this is? There's something called the Ivory Coast. Why? They make ivories. They get ivories from there. There's something called the Gold Coast. Why? Because they mine gold from there. Why do you think they call this the Silk Coast? Because they got most of their slaves from here.
No, the rest of the sea.
And where is this? This is Badagry here. This is all the Oyo Empire.
Benin.
All the Oyo Empire.
Yes, down there.
Look how Badagry is. This is where Badagry is.
Right of Benin.
This is exactly where they got the slaves from. They got the slaves from Oyo Empire.
I think there's even Great Popo. Popo is one of Yoruba's.
Where is it? Okay, the Great Popo. So all that is Yoruba land. This is why Yoruba is very prominent in the Caribbean, Brazil, Cuba,
Latin America.
Latin America generally. Because they took the same people of the same culture.
There's even the same thing here, the Great Popo.
The Great Popo. Thank you for showing me that.
Guida.
Yeah, even on this one, there's Guida.
There's Guida here.
That's
He is
it.
now President of the Republic.
So guys, think about it. From this map alone, if you stop here, isn't it evident that this is where the people are from? They made these maps believing that we were never going to know how to read. All right. So the question is, let's confirm it. What's anthropology? Study of culture, language, and land. Have you? So let's come. Let's cross the river now. So the next thing was now. Next thing was now, how then do we now confirm? Because there are many tribes in West Africa, so we have to be able to pin it to a particular tribe. We're seeing that your empire is playing a significant role. So let's look for what culture is your empire, the Yoruba culture, the Yoruba people, the Yoruba ethnicity. So let's find out if there are things within that ethnicity that can confirm what we've seen over there, right? And the first thing that we looked at was this. Ta-da. So it's a no-brainer. So the question is, how does a white man's hair form dada? That was the question.
We don't have kinky hair.
You have to have kinky, woolly, tangling hair for you to form dada. Any African child, they leave their hair unbrushed, unkept. For a reasonable period, it begins to tangle. But then they've always drawn Samson as a white man. And why didn't we think about it to say, oh, they said that Samson is
no razor must touch his head.
But then, it's nice that you said what you said. Do you know why? What do they say about Dada children in Yoruba land? When you keep listening, there's one law. Abe ogodo kan ori e. Can you translate? What is abe? Ogodo kan ori e. It's the same thing we've been saying for centuries. We don't know why we say it. But this is the same thing we've been saying for centuries. So I was like, okay, well, this is fascinating. How can the same culture be saying the same thing? So the question was, can we find other similarities? I want to come to this last. Let me go to this. How do Yorubas, how did they used to swear? Not anymore now. Where we say, oh my God, do it again. No, you're right. No, it's okay, Dada. And what do you say? Long. Good. That's how they swear in the Bible. This is an angel swear. They raise their right hand to heaven and swear by him that liveth. They did him Olongbo.
Indians would do like this.
Exactly. No, every culture has a way of swearing. But what I'm saying is, that which is peculiar to Yoruba is also peculiar to the Bible. They swear the same way. Where did we get it from? We swear like that, we don't know why. Obviously, our ancestors had seen it by angel and copied it. Abraham was the first person in the Bible to do it. He swore to the king of Sodom, said, I have lifted up my hand to the Lord God of heaven, that I will not collect anything from your hand. And it was just not only Abraham that swore that way. And so it's the same all long time. The only difference now is, was here. And we do not know if that's probably what they did. But they say it's not their word, sorry, it's from my mouth to God. So the same thing, they don't swear and just lift up their hands to heaven. Yorubas don't swear and say, just like this. We call the name of God when we swear, the same way they call the name of God when they swear. I want to come to this last. And then this. No other culture, not only in West Africa, in the entire world would prostrate. None. In fact, the Igbos would never dare. They'll tell you that Igbos know they bow for anybody. It's their law. But in the Yoruba culture compels you to prostrate to the point where when you are 80 years old and you go and meet your mom's senior sister that is 110, that has survived to 110, if you are still able, Moses, when Jethro, his father-in-law, appeared unto him to discuss matters about Israel, what happened there, how did you guys get here, brought his wife and his children who had probably left at the time, maybe they couldn't handle the stress. The Bible says that Moses prostrated with his face to the ground. Which culture prostrates with their face to the ground? Obasanjo is doing this after his presidency. They installed this king. Look at how a former president is bowing to a king. Now, when you begin to find these cultural similarities, and then you know that they came to West Africa, and then you know that they got them from down here, then you're beginning to ask yourself the question, this doesn't look ordinary anymore.
Exactly.
You have to pay attention. And then in paying attention, let's look at this. This boy is saying to the other one, what you man let's say. Or what you man be Jew, or man let's say, is what we say. When we find somebody who is slippery, Clemens on Yoruba, what about when no man let's say, or man should be Jew. If you go to Genesis chapter 3, the curse to the serpent was you shall bite her heels. Exactly the same thing from as far back as Adam's time. And we still say it today, we are Jenny Lesson. These are not just ordinary similarities, these are cogent similarities. These are things that if you are not a part of that culture, you shouldn't be doing because no other culture does it in the world. Culture means the man says, you are a snake, you bite my heel. Yorùbá nìkan ló sọ dábàá tó bá jẹni lẹ́sẹ̀ gbogbo Yorùbá ti mọ̀ pé ọ̀bọ yẹn ìwé ọ̀dà nìyẹn it's like a snake, it's slippery. And this is the one that I want to rest on. Circumcision. Today we circumcise on the 8th day. Do we know why we circumcise? We don't. We just circumcise our children on the 8th day. That's all. We don't know why. If you ask any Yoruba, the same way if you ask any Yoruba, nobody Yoruba Tishawa, this one will tell you his own story. This one will tell you his own story. But with circumcision, there is no story at all. Nobody knows nothing about it. They just know that we circumcised. Now the British came to our land and said, this is an unhygienic act. We need to stop it. You know, they believe children's immunities are not well formed yet. So you shouldn't do those things to them. In fact, when a mother has a baby, it's only the mother they're allowed to carry the baby in most cases. They put the baby in some sort of like an incubator, not an incubator proper. It's a cot. No, the one with the glass.
A crib.
A crib, yeah. Right? No, the one with the glass. They're usually covered because of germs. But an incubator is actually when the child is not properly formed yet. So, but this looks like an incubator, just not the machine of the incubator, but it's just they cover the child up. It's just to prevent germs for the child. So they came and told us in our land, you can't be cutting this thing. You're not even sterilizing the blade. We just burn the blade, which is what we call sterilization, and cut the thing and move on. But the child always survives. We never have a problem with it because we're not them.
Sterilized or something like that. That show goes on.
Show goes on. Okay. So now we do it on the 8th day. So I try to find out from other cultures, and I realize that some Igbos, they do their naming ceremony on the 1st. They name the child as not a child from this is what his name will be. Sometimes
dedication after 3 months.
After 3 days, they have dedications after 3 months and all those. They have a different culture entirely, but they also circumcised, but not necessarily on the 8th day. They can do it any time. You can do it on the 8th day, 9th day. So I was like, the Bible in Genesis 17 told Abraham, the Most High told Abraham, this is the covenant that I will have between me and you. That every one of your seed that is 8th day old must be circumcised. Yoruba ni ọkàn ló mú statutorily. Do you know why that is statutorily? Ọjọ́ ẹ̀ náà la máa ń ṣe ìsọmọ lórúkọ. Now, in John chapter 1, verse 59, 60, 61. Luke chapter 1, verse 59, 60, 61. They were going to circumcise. John the Baptist. They were going to circumcise him. And they asked the mother, what shall be his name? She said John. I'm like, they went to meet the father and John. All the don't know what she's talking about. What's his name? Now I wrote it down. The reason why the mother was the one that called the name of the child was simply because the father was dumb.
Yes.
No,
dumb.
Zechariah. Because
He doubted
the
angel.
So he couldn't speak. Odi. So he now wrote down his name shall be called John. And they said to him, why would you call him John? Before we even get there. He wrote, they asked them on what day? On the 8th day. what shall be his name? That means nobody knew his name until that time. And then the mother said, his name is called John. Exactly what they did in Luke. This is not now further down Old Testament. This is when the Messiah was at the era of the Messiah. It's not ending there. And fascinatingly, we went further. Why did they reject the name John when the father said his name is John? You know what the person that collected the name said? Nobody bears this name in your family. Why are you name John? That's why we rejected what your wife said. You were about to say, Elaine now. Yeah, you don't understand it here. You never understand. This is the point that I got to. And Baba will know. This is the point I got to. The man said, no more. I was with him again yesterday. Similarly, it is strong for us to now say that when you want to be mischievous, when you are lazy, when you are envious, when you are mischievous, when you are from another tribe, you can want to contest it. But the question is this, what are you contesting there? Contest it logically. Don't come and say, but somebody else in Ukraine used to do it in Ukraine. The people who migrate to Ukraine. We're talking about West Africa here. Now, his name was Jacob. Hold your heel. Your heel. This is your heel. Can any man tó bá mú lè báyìí báyìí máa sọ. Ìgbùnwọ́ tó bá mú ní ìgbùnwọ́ yóò sá lọ tó bá mú lọ́rùn ọwọ́ kọ ẹ̀ṣẹ̀ mọ́lẹ̀ yẹn ni. So how can a baby hold his brother, his twin brother, by the heel? Do you know what they call this part? Ìkọ́ abẹ́. Ìgbékọ́. Eléyìí ní ìkọ́ abẹ́. Ibi tí ẹsẹ̀ ti kọ́. That's the only part underneath to call. Your leg is like a tree going down. Kókó ẹsẹ̀. So his name was YQB. There's no JCB. It's YQB. Jacob. You guys should go and check and verify this thing when you watch it. What the midwife was saying was, "Èyí kó abẹ́ ẹ̀gbọ́n ẹ̀, ó kó ní ọ̀rọ̀ abẹ́ báyìí ni." Amniotic slippery. When a dog, that's why they use latex gloves, because it's very slippery. And that's the reason why it's slippery is to aid deliverance, so that the baby comes out very easily. And then you now say that the brother held the heel of the senior brother to come out. A slippery thing. Magic Olufidilabemu. He grabbed the leg. He grabbed the leg. Not that he didn't release the leg eventually. He released the leg because the woman is pulling. He didn't have enough power to hold it. But the idea was, why are you holding the leg of your brother? They've never seen that kind of a thing before. So the name they gave him as Yorubas would name things after events is so they called him Akoabe. Now the same word is the same word for wrestling in Yoruba land till today. If you are supporting me, what would you be shouting? Kolabe or Zokulese? But the original word is Kolabe. So his name was Eyi Kwabe, but the wrestling move, what that word means, this one wrestles his brother. Because the wrestling move is Akwabe. So they decided to call him Akwabe, which is a wrestler. This is where they got the word supplanter from. It wasn't a supplanter because he was deceiving people. It was a supplanter because wrestling is about that kind of deceit. Oh, this is so a supplanter is a Thomas Benyon Shanle. So they started to call him Eyi Kwabe. And Oruko Maru, because he must have previously been a wrestler, ultimately. Most of them were wrestlers. You would find there It was a traditional thing to do wrestling in their days, just to keep the men fit. You know, the DBRs used to do it a lot. So everybody on very TikTok, wrestling and boxing. But what they used to do normally was wrestling. And they tried to supplant the other. So it wasn't like he was a deceitful person. He was a wrestler. That's why Laban said, Jacob is your name. Wrestler is your name, and you have wrestled me and prevailed. Not supplanted me, don't pay all these things that they say in churches and all that. So when he fought the angel, I want to ask you a question. If he wasn't a wrestler, can you fight for more than 10 minutes? You will not have, they fought the angel all night.
All night.
Our wrestlers is a part of their life. One new Kweni. You just have to run here. Oh, the angel for money, I have to go now. Why are you disturbing me? Have you keeping me here for too long? When the angel touched his hip, he dislocated his hip, so he couldn't fight anymore. Then the angel looked at him and said, "You're a man." He said, "No longer shall your name be called Jacob, but your name will now become Eishe Arelu, not Israel." There's no word in this word like Israel. It's a shin. It's YSHRL. They do Israel because they can't pronounce Idewa. The consonant is Ei, which is Ei Kwabe. So the Ei there is this person. The Kwabe is the act. And all Yoruba words are based on verbs. An act. So Ei and all Hebrews is based on verbs.